Hey Flight Simmers, welcome to the channel. I'm the Cockpit printer. It's been a while since the last video. Thank you very much for your patience, but now I'm back and it's finally time to complete the Korry series. In the last video we designed the covers for all the Korry switches, and in this episode I want to show you how to connect it to the flight sim. For this video I created a little fantasy panel. This panel doesn't exist in the Airbus cockpit, but it has three very frequently used switches on it: the battery main switch, APU master switch and the APU start switch. I will not show you in detail how to create this panel because it's a fantasy panel, but all my supporters on Patreon will find the data for printing on my Patreon page. In addition to the printing data, you will find the configurations for MobiFlight and the Arduino board as well on my Patreon page. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing, give this video a like, and now let's go into MobiFlight and connect this panel to our flight sim. Alright, as you can see, I already started a flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I'm still using the 2020 flight sim, but what I've seen so far, it's similar in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Let me know in the comments which type of flight sim you are using. Maybe I will do a video about the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 in the future. The panel has three Korry switches for the battery, the APU master switch and the APU start switch. For the battery and the APU master switch, I'm using latching switches inside the Korry switch. And like in the real aircraft, the APU start switch is just a momentary switch. So I used a momentary switch inside the APU start switch as well. And I already connected it with some extension wires to my Arduino. MobiFlight is already running, and as always, let's start with the configuration of the board. Go into MobiFlight modules, and in here, if you haven't done it already, update the firmware. And then let's add some devices. Let's start from left to right with the battery switch. The battery switch is on pin number 48. Add an LED to pin number 50. It's battery off. It's a little bit annoying in MobiFlight when you're assigning an already existing name. You get this message, but unfortunately it doesn't wait until you're finished with the name. Maybe MobiFlight will change it in a future edition. Another LED for battery. Yes, it's okay. Volt on pin number 52. Let's go on with the APU master switch. This is on pin number 49. On pin number 51 is the APU master It's the on LED. Another LED on pin number 53. It's the APU, master, fault. And a third button for the APU start switch. This one is on pin number 22. And two LEDs. One on pin number 24. It's the APU on. And another LED on pin number 26. It's the APU start avail. This is my configuration for the board so far. Before you close the window, make sure that you upload the config to the board. And now we can go on with the inputs. Create a new row, name it battery. And in here, I just have one battery switch on my panel, but in the sim there are battery 1 and 2, and I want to trigger both of these switches in the sim. And there are basically two ways to do this. I will show you both of them. First, let's go into Edit, select the module and the device. It's the battery switch. And on press, Microsoft Flight Simulator, search for APU. I'm using the fly-by-wire A320, but if you're using the Phoenix or the A320 from Microsoft, use the particular one. Oh, of course, we're not searching for the APU. Search for BAT. And over here, A32NX, overhead panel elect battery 1 toggle. Hit OK. Run the config, and as soon as I press the button, now you can see only toggles the switch every second press. And for this I have to define this configuration on the on-release event as well. Battery 1 toggle. Each time I'm pressing the battery switch, now you can see it's toggling battery number 1. I want to trigger battery 2 as well. I can make a copy of this one, just duplicate that row, name it battery 2, go into edit and set it to battery 2 toggle, and in the on release event as well. And now both of the switches are toggling when I'm pressing the switch. The second way to do this, to trigger both of the battery switches, I delete this row, just go into the edit, and in here, when I select a preset, if you enable this checkbox, show preset code, this is the code that's executed in the background, and we can copy this code. For example, if I'm changing to battery number 2 toggle, you can see elect bat 2. Just copy these 2 lines, go back to battery number 1, and paste it over here. Now you have battery 1 and battery 2 triggered on the same event, and on release just copy, paste, and here again battery number 1 and 2 are triggered. Let's give it a shot, and you can see both of the battery switches are toggling. Let's go on with the APU master switch. Create a new row. Edit, select the module, the device, APU master switch. Search for APU. Fly-by-wire, 18 matches found. And here A3 to an X APU master switch, press. Okay, let's try it. APU master switch. All right, but again, when I release the switch, it doesn't toggle the switch in the sim. Go back to edit, copy the on press event and paste it on release. And now the master switch is toggling. Add a third row for the APU start. And select the APU start button press. And because we are using a momentary switch in here, we don't need to assign the on release event. And now in the sim, the start button has been pressed. All right, let's switch off the APU master switch. Let's go on with the output configurations. I will start with the battery switches. Battery, go to edit, search for BAT, and select the vendor, fly-by-wire, and all the way down there is battery 1 off. Assign it to display, LED output, and battery off. You can test it. I'll just switch off the backlight. And here you can see LED. All right. And in the sim, the off light appears, and on my Korry switch as well. Okay, let's go on with the APU master switch. Of course, we have a second light in the battery switches. It's a fault light. Duplicate that row. Set it to fault. This upper one to off. Go to edit and select battery fault. Battery fault. And the variable is battery 1 fault. Let's test it. All right. add a new row for APU master on. Search for APU, select the vendor. APU master switch is on. Assign it to the output, master on. Give it a test. All right. Works just fine. Let's go on with the fault light in here. Just duplicate this row, name it fault. Go to edit and set it to APU master fault. And here, master switch has fault. All right, next row, APU start on. Go to edit, search for APU again. And APU start is on. Select the display. Okay, duplicate this row and name it avail. Set the display to avail, and the sim variable is APU start is available. Test it. Avail. Nice. Hit OK. And press APU start. And when the APU is available, the avail light should appear. And now the APU is available. And now we have successfully connected this panel to our flight sim. Let's have a closer look on the connection to the Arduino board. And as you can see, each Korry switch has its own ground wire that has to be connected to a ground pin on the Arduino board. And if we are connecting the Korry switches like this, we are running out of ground pins very quickly. And this will be the topic of the next video. We will fix this issue with a little prototype board we can mount on top of our Arduino board. And on this board, I soldered one line. These are all ground pins. And in addition to that, several connectors for power supply, for potentiometers, for example, +5 volts and ground as well. So I don't have to use the ports of the Arduino directly. And this will be the task of the next video, that we are able to connect as many of the Korry switches as we want to the Arduino board. We are at the end of this video, and today we connected this little fantasy panel to our flight sim. And as you've seen, it's really simple to connect the switches and the LEDs to our flight sim with MobiFlight. If you want to rebuild this panel, go to my Patreon page. All my supporters on Patreon will find all the data, the printing STL files, the Bamboo Studio profiles, and the configurations for MobiFlight on my Patreon page. If you like this video, give it a like. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and see you in the next video.